Mwangi wa Iria, the former governor for Murang'a, is almost being auctioned. I am narrating this auctioning story so that you, my viewer, who is not rich, can also understand that the rich can also be auctioned. And the rich also face a lot of financial problems, and this is the logical sequence of events. Now, Mwangi wa Iria borrowed money from an undisclosed lender. You know, when they say that the lender is undisclosed, the lender is not, the name of the lender is not in the public domain. I believe this is a Shylock, or maybe they had an agreement that hide my name, or maybe this is a friend or a private individual who lent him money, or maybe it's a powerful person who lent Mwangi wa Iria money, okay? So this lender, who we don't know, gave Mwangi wa Iria a lot of money. I don't know how much it was. Then Mwangi wa Iria, you know, when they give you money, you have to provide collateral, okay? Now, collateral for this loan was his current residential property, and I think it is Mountain View Hospital in Murang'a, a property that has a 5-story building, more than 2 acres. You see, this was a big loan, because if governor has residential property in Karen, we all know that people who have residential property in Karen are rich people. People who can have a 5-story building sitting on more than 2 acres, that's a rich person. And then he put this 2 property as collateral for the loan. So they advanced him a loan. Now, when he was given this loan, he was unable to pay it back. And this is what I have been telling people, that when you borrow money, some circumstances can make you unable to pay back the loan. And this is what we will examine later, why he is unable even to pay it right now. Now, when he was unable to pay this loan, the lender sent him notices. Kindly pay us our money. Mwangi wa Iria could not pay that money. They sent him a demand notice. Kindly please pay us our money. Mwangi wa Iria could not pay back the money. And so what do? They went for his property, which he put as collateral. And then they advertised this property for sale. The current residential property and this Mountain View Hospital in Murang'a. Now, Mwangi wa Iria, seeing that he's going to lose property worth, I don't know how much it was. I don't know if it's billion or millions of shillings, but definitely it's more than 100 million Kenya shillings. But he could not stop it. And I suspect that the reason he could not stop it, 1, it is because he had a debt. 2, he had not paid this debt. 3, he had not demonstrated that he was able to pay this debt. And therefore, auctioneers, I think it's Dalali traders, I'm not very sure, went for his property, and then they have advertised it for sale. Now, that property is supposed to be sold this month. Now, you can see, former governor, who has been earning a lot of money, lots of money, who has had access to a lot of money, borrowed money. You see, there are people who believe that there will come a time when you will not be able to borrow. As long as you have these financial pressures of being governor, financial pressures of you want to invest, put up a story building, these financial pressures, you want to be president, you want to have a political party, you are running up and down, you must borrow money. You will go to these banks. We've always been thinking that Moses Kuria was very rich, especially when Ruto was running around with a chopper, and then Moses Kuria went and said that the chopper was his. But now he cannot pay 50 million, right? So as long as you need things, you must at some point borrow, and you will experience challenges paying back the loan. And so that is what Mwangi wa Iria encountered, and he was unable to pay. And the court allowed, can you go and sell it? And then Dalali traders have advertised that we are selling this property. And he has tried to prevent the sale of the property. He is unable. Now, the only way Governor Mwangi wa Iria can stop the sale of his property, number 1, is to pay back the debt. That is the simplest way to do it. If he cannot pay back the debt, number 2, he has to enter into a negotiation with the owner of the money, the lender now, the person who advanced him this loan. And they have to sit down and to agree, how are you going to pay us? But because he has defaulted on this loan for a very long time, it is very difficult for him to enter into an agreement with this lender. Now, the other third option is to obtain a court order, which I believe is now difficult right now, because maybe if there is a legal basis. We don't know if he has a legal basis to protect his property from being sold. But if he does not get a court order, and if he does not have a proper legal basis to prevent his property from being sold, this property is being sold this month. And therefore, if they sell the property and they get surplus, they get more money on top, they will return him the money. But of course, in Kenya, you know what happens. If they take your property and it's worth a lot of money, these auctioneers sell it and then keep the other money. Auctioneers are some of the richest people in this world because they do that. Sell the property at a high cost, then go to court, then fake the accounts that they sold it at a lower price when they have kept the other money. So that's what basically happens. Now, let's look at this case. Is it practical for Mwangi wa Iria to pay back this money? No. Why? Because there is another case, corruption case on him. Now, which is this corruption case that can make it difficult for him to settle this loan? Mwangi wa Iria, when he was governor, between 2014 to 2017, he went and awarded a media company a tender. You know, when somebody is governor, they usually award tenders to friends. They usually award tenders to cronies, supporters, sycophants, people who supported them when they wanted to be governor. You see, the awarding of tenders is not done in a very regular and transparent manner. You know, if you have been in any county, we live in counties, of course. Let me not ask if you've been in any county. We live in counties. We know these politicians, what they do, and we understand some of the kickbacks that you give these politicians. We know what happens. So when Mwangi wa Iria was governor, he awarded a tender to a media company, and according to how it has been said, the awarding was irregular, okay? But this happened between 2014 to 2017 when he was still in good books with the big fish, okay? Now, in 2021, I think Mwangi wa Iria wanted to become president. And when you want to become president, you are distorting the matrix of this big fish who want power. And therefore, the easiest way to target him was to look at how much has he stolen from public coffers, or what irregular tenders did he award, or what did he do that can make him have a difficult life? And so they looked at him, then they identified that, you awarded a media company more than 500 million, and the awarding was irregular. And therefore, what will we do? We will come for you using EFCC. You see, in most cases, when EFCC come for you, it's not just coming for you independently. In most cases, it's because, especially when you are a politician, it's because you have tried to play a bad game with the big people. And so when they looked at it, they just saw that this guy awarded this tender irregularly. And so they went for him. And so he was taken to court. He was taken to court because of this criminal. You know, awarding tenders irregularly is considered criminal. He did not plead guilty. Of course, most people don't plead guilty. And so he asked the court to halt the criminal proceedings against him. But the court did not halt because I think there was sufficient evidence to prove that he awarded this tender irregularly. And so the case is still active in court. Now, Mwangi wa Iria has an active case of 500 million, over 500 million, a criminal case. If he is found guilty, some of his property can be sold to satisfy this amount. Or, because I hear that EFCC has frozen some of his property, he cannot sell, he cannot do anything on those property. So that property is just still there. It's waiting. If EFCC and the courts find that this thing, they prove, because they're just waiting to prove, they have sufficient evidence, of course, and I believe maybe, because we don't know what will happen. If they prove, then it means that some of his property, more of his properties will again be sold. Now, here we have a rich man. A rich man that we believe is a very rich man, has been a governor, wanted to be president. We admire him. Driving in very sleek cars. You know, this is a man who has acquired things that we admire. But on one hand, he is unable to settle a loan, and therefore, 2 of his properties are supposed to be sold. Now, can he pay this loan? No. Why? Because he has another criminal charge that he awarded a tender irregularly, a tender that was worth more than 500 million. Now, the man is caught in the middle. What does he do? We don't know. Because is he going to pay the money to protect his property from being sold? We don't know. And I was looking at it and then asking myself questions. Property in Karen, a residential property. And I know when they said residential property, it means that your wife and children are there. Now, will they kick out the wife and children if they live there? That is, if they live there. Are they going to kick out the wife and children? Now, that's the most unfortunate thing if it's going to happen. Very unfortunate. Just like what happened to Tuju. They just got him out of his property. Eh? Then he was there trying to fight. I will fight until the last minute. I saw Tuju had broken down. The guy was weak and sick, and he's trying to recover his property, but he's being evicted because of a loan. Tuju got out of his property and it was recovered by the auctioneers and it was sold. So that is the same case with him. I don't know whether the wife will be evicted and children and it will be recovered and it will be sold. Very unfortunate. So here we have a rich man who has a lot of stress, seated down, wondering what next. Now he's in a very bad fix, a bad loan and a criminal case, and you have been governor for all that time. Now, up to this point, do you now understand what I talk about when I say peace of mind? Peace of mind. Peace of mind does not have a cost. Peace of mind is very expensive. Peace of mind. Don't joke with peace of mind. You know, sometimes I talk about peace of mind and people say that it is poverty informing me to talk about it. Sometimes I talk about frugality and living a very quiet, low life. Of course, work hard and make a lot of money, but again, live a quiet, low life. I tell people that, then they tell me that, you know, you are struggling. You are struggling because you cannot afford. It's not that. When you are looking for peace of mind and avoiding these economic pressures, it is the most expensive thing that you can ever own in this world. I see a lot of people when they are asked that, what expensive thing do you own? Then they start thinking about money, in terms of money. It's not money. It's not money, bro. Like right now, when you ask, I saw Defao being asked, how much did you buy your car? And then he was mentioning millions there. Of course, he was not asked what is the most expensive thing you own, but he mentioned a car that was worth a lot of money and several other cars that he owns. Now, to other people who are watching, that is the most expensive thing that he has. And so they have also to work hard, get more money, and own these gold chains, these very expensive things. But the most important and the most expensive thing that you will ever own, that nobody ever tells you, is peace of mind. Sit in quietness. And I've been narrating about the way I sit here, okay? That does not mean that I'm living a perfect life. You know, there's somebody who will say that, you think you live a perfect life. No, it's not about me living a perfect life. It's just about telling you that sometimes what we see does not mean that a person is living a good life. What we see is just for optics. You know, what you look at doesn't necessarily mean that that is the real thing that you see. What you see is very different from the reality. You know, I was listening to Jacob Elliott. You know, I got these stories from Jacob Elliott. Jacob Elliott was talking about cash flow, and then he was talking about having regular streams of income and showing no opulence, just living. And then he said that that is the real wealth. Now, for me, I have a different perspective. Real wealth is you being able to live a quiet life with no problem with anyone. You don't have a problem with anyone. You don't have these economic pressures, self-imposed. Of course, we can have other pressures economically, but then these self-inflicted economic pressures, when you can just sit down and then work on your things without any problems with anyone, then you can sleep at night without security. You can just walk without security. You see, you underestimate some of those things. Some of those things are very expensive, but they are not monetary. You can't just see the money. But the cost, the expense, or the price, or how can we call it, of peace of mind and quietness and being able to live among people without worrying that somebody's coming for you, it is very expensive. And so, my people, when we discuss about these auctioning issues, because I have been auctioned myself, I have stopped talking about my case, because in the Moses Kuria case, I integrated a lot of my story in it. And then some people were talking about how I have digressed from the main story. Now, in this story, I think we should encourage one another that living a frugal life, sometimes it is the most important thing that you can ever have. I'm talking about living a frugal life when you are working hard. Not living a frugal life and you are not chasing your dreams. No, bro, go for your dreams. Work hard, go for them. Be practical, but then again, live a practical life. Because I'm trying to imagine, you are rich. People respect you. You've been former governor. You have even tried to run for president. You own property. You have cars that people admire. And people look at you as an inspiration. But then again, EACC comes for you because of 500 million. You are still under that criminal charge and your property is being sold. Now, how can you get out of this? Now, he's not in government. President cannot help him. I don't know which other rich person can bail him out. I don't know if he has friends that can bail him out. And even if they bail him out, they will still need to be paid. Now, how can he pay? He finished his term as governor. Where will he get this other money? You know, in Kenya, these billionaires that we have in this country, these are thieves. A lot of them. Let us speak the truth. You know, genuine billionaires in this country are very few. Very few. But most of these 2 billionaires that you see living in Karen and doing all, these are fake billionaires because they enter politics, steal a lot of money, and then they come to inspire you that we are successful. But it's all about stealing money. Now, he finished his term as governor. If it's awarding an irregular tender worth hundreds of millions, he can't do it now. I don't know which method he's going to use. Maybe if he can run for another political seat so that he can have access to other billions of shillings so that he can maybe bail himself out. But how can he do it again? I don't know. You see? So the message I want to bring out in this video is that if you are living a quiet life and you have no debt, you are rich already. I usually tell people that if you owe no one, you don't have money that you should pay anyone, you are already rich. And some people tell me that, no, that's not rich. That's being rich in one way. Bro, if you don't have any debt, you are debt free and you are able to run your life. I'm not talking about being debt free and you are unable to run your life. You can pay your rent if you are renting or you have a house and you can run your life. You can buy food and you can do other normal things like paying school fees for the children, buying food at home. You can do those things and you don't have a debt. You are very rich. Very rich. Now, if you have peace of mind, you have just seated down, although you have some 1 or 2 debts that you can settle here and there, but you are just seated down, you have no problem with anyone, you are in good books with your lenders, you are already rich. Embrace this peace of mind. Look for peace of mind. It is one of the most important things that you will ever have, more than money. I know we keep chasing money. You go to Nairobi and every town and everybody's here chasing money, but you are forgetting that the real wealth is being in quietness and having no problem with anyone. So I believe we can learn 1 or 2 things from just this case, which is just like the case of many other rich people like Tuju, like Moses Kuria, and many other rich people who have lost their prime property because of big loans. If you are at where you are and you don't have a lot of money, but you can run your life very well and you are at peace, you are already rich. But of course, I encourage you to keep working hard because we should all work hard and aim to achieve greatness. But then again, the most important thing and the most expensive thing is peace of mind. Thank you for listening to me. This is Gidia Kali, and we shall meet again in another video.